So picking up where we left off about this SR, that's where it stores the calcium. It's a calcium storehouse. And when the action potential enters the cell, it causes that membrane to depolarize, and that allows the calcium to cross. Looking at what makes up the muscle and such, then there's a structure on there that the calcium attaches to called the troponin. It's a protein. And in a type 1 muscle, there's not a strong attraction. There's an attraction, just not a strong attraction and such. In the type 2, there's a very strong attraction. So the calcium very quickly goes to the troponin in the type 2, which triggers the twitch. It takes a little bit longer in the type 1 because the calcium, it doesn't go directly to the troponin. So looking at how this breaks up. If you take an average person who, just call them average, every muscle in their body, biceps, triceps, pecs, whatever, the average person, their muscles break down about 50% type 1, 50% type 2. If you look at the bottom of that, a marathoner. So think about the average person, then think about a marathoner who has to train, so they continuously use their muscles. They switch over to like an 80% type 1, 20% type 2. If you go to the sprinter, a person, how does a sprinter train? You train that way. You do long distance, but then you do burst, a lot of different rapid bursts and such. And so the muscles respond, and it's 20% type 1 and 80% type 2. Now take an individual, an average, a sprinter, a marathoner, whatever, and they suffer a spinal injury. The muscles don't go away. They alter in what proteins are being expressed, on which proteins the DNA expresses. And it goes to where the muscle type, the vast majority is a type 2, that anaerobic form, that fast twitch. And the type 1, the continuous use, drops. This is saying that it's the input, the constant input, the constant electrical activity of the brain going to the muscle, triggering the twitch itself, causes the DNA to express the type 1 and to express the type 2. When you take away that, it just defaults back to expressing the type 2. So take an average person who's healthy and doing everything, and then put them on the couch where they just sit down, eat popcorn, and watch TV. They're not getting the activity that they need and such. And so there's not as much electrical input going to the muscles. And so they reflect that by the type of muscle protein that they express. So go back to that graph right there and such. When we look at the type 2 muscle, that's the fast twitch. Okay. If you take an average person and you take their fast twitch, what amount of them are the 2A and the 2X? Now the 2A is the modern and the 2X is the more ancient. You might even think that the 2X is more powerful than the 2A. Some would think that. So in an average person, there's how it breaks down. In a spinal injury, so there's no more electrical stimulus going to the muscle, the type 2 and the 2X, 2A and 2X, it's half and half. In the sprinter, where you hit it with short bursts, the couch potato, where there's really not much input going in there, half. And then you look at the marathoner, which is continuous input, continuous input, continuous input. The overwhelming majority of it is type 2A, or a more modern type of myosin right there. That says a lot. That should say a lot to a person. So you can take an average person and you can train to be a marathoner, and you will affect the type of myosin that your body is expressing. That's the functionality. You have control over that. You can't use an excuse where I was born this way or I can't do that. You can train to do these things. Look at an average person and train to be a sprinter. You can change. You can cause your myosins to change. It doesn't happen overnight, but you have to work it. It's called conditioning. You can do it. If you just give up and quit and just sit out on the couch, your DNA still gets expressed and it will revert back. Your muscles will revert back to those and even go past and such. So when you're thinking about these myosins, this DNA that's in us has been in us for a long time. So these isoforms, the 2A, the 2X and such, the type 1, the type 2, they've been with us for a long time. They're conserved evolutionarily. Okay. And when we look at the type 1 and the type 2 and we compare it to other mammals, a rat's type 1 is more similar to a human's type 1 genetically, DNA, than it is to the rat's type 2. That's pretty amazing right there and such. So this is a type of evolution to where over the vastness of time, these different types, and all your muscles are composed of both types, they have been selected for and maintained throughout our development and such. So fascinating. That's just fascinating right there. All right, so let's stop that.